You walk past it every single day. You water it, you even talk to it sometimes. But something is quietly going wrong, and your hanging plant is sending you signals you've been completely missing. Here's the scary part. By the time you actually notice the damage, it's often already too late to fully fix it. So if you have a hanging plant anywhere in your home, stop what you're doing and watch this video. Because today, we're going to uncover the silent reasons your plant is struggling and exactly what you can do to bring it back to life before it's gone for good. And look, this isn't about making you feel like a bad plant parent. Most people who lose hanging plants were actually trying really hard to take care of them. The problem isn't effort. The problem is that hanging plants have very specific needs that are completely different from plants sitting on a shelf or in a pot on the floor. And almost nobody talks about that. Let's change that right now. Point 1. The watering problem nobody warns you about. Let's start with the most common killer of hanging plants, and it's not what you think. Most people either water too much or too little. But with hanging plants, there's a third problem that's even sneakier: uneven watering. Here's what happens. You pour water into the pot from the top. It looks like the soil is absorbing it, but because hanging pots are usually smaller and because the drainage is faster due to gravity pulling water straight down, the water often rushes right through without ever reaching the roots in the middle and sides of the soil. So the top looks moist, the bottom drips, and the roots in between completely dry. Your plant is literally dying of thirst while you think you've been watering it perfectly. The fix is simple, but you have to be intentional about it. Water slowly and in circles, not just in the center. Give the water time to absorb. And every few weeks, do what's called a deep soak. Place the whole pot in a bucket of water for about 20 to 30 minutes so the soil can fully rehydrate from every angle. Trust me, the first time you do this with a struggling plant, you'll be shocked at how much better it looks within just a couple of days. Point 2. Your plant is being slowly cooked by air. This one surprises a lot of people. Hanging plants are elevated, which sounds harmless, right? But here's the thing. Heat rises, which means the air near your ceiling or near a bright window up high is significantly warmer and drier than the air at floor level. And most popular hanging plants, like pothos, string of pearls, spider plants, and tradescantia, actually prefer slightly cooler, more humid air. When they're hanging in warm, dry spots all day, they slowly lose moisture through their leaves faster than their roots can replace it. The leaves start to look a little crispy at the edges. Then they curl slightly inward. Most people think that's a watering issue. They water more, the roots get waterlogged, and now the plant has 2 problems instead of 1. What you actually need to do is think carefully about where your hanging plant lives. Is it near a heating vent? A sunny window that gets hot in the afternoon? A spot close to the ceiling in a room with no air circulation? If yes, consider moving it lower or to a slightly cooler location. You can also mist the leaves lightly every 2 to 3 days, or place a small humidifier nearby. These small changes make a massive difference for plants that have been quietly struggling with dry air for months. Point 3. The light trap that's fooling you. Now let's talk about light, because this is where a lot of people get completely fooled. You hang your plant near a window. It looks bright, you think your plant is happy. But there's a big difference between bright light and the right kind of light. Many hanging plants are actually understory plants in nature. That means in the wild, they grow beneath tall trees, getting filtered, indirect light, not direct sun blasting them for 6 hours straight. When you hang them right in a sunny window, the light can be way too intense, especially during summer. On the flip side, if the window faces north or is blocked by a building, your plant might not be getting nearly enough light, even though you think it's in a bright spot. Here's a simple way to test your light situation. Hold your hand about a foot above a white piece of paper near where your plant hangs. If the shadow of your hand is sharp and dark, the light is too direct and intense. If there's barely any shadow at all, the light is too low. You want a soft, slightly blurred shadow. That's the sweet spot for most hanging plants. Rotate your plant a quarter turn every week so every side gets even light exposure. This prevents the plant from leaning awkwardly toward the light source and developing uneven, patchy growth. Point 4. The root problem hiding in plain sight. Okay, here's one that almost nobody checks until it's a crisis. Roots. Hanging pots tend to be smaller and more decorative than practical, and because of that, plants in hanging baskets get root-bound much faster than people expect. When roots run out of space, they can't absorb water or nutrients properly. The plant starts to look tired, pale, and limp, even when you're doing everything else right. Gently tip your plant out of its pot and look at the roots. If they're circling around the bottom, tightly packed, or even poking out of the drainage holes, your plant is screaming for more space. Repot it into something just one size larger. Don't go too big. A pot that's too large can hold excess moisture and lead to root rot. Just one step up in size with fresh, well-draining potting mix, and your plant will reward you almost immediately. Also, when was the last time you fertilized your hanging plant? Because small pots mean small amounts of soil, which means nutrients get used up very quickly. During the growing season, spring through early fall, feed your hanging plant with a balanced liquid fertilizer every 2 to 3 weeks. This alone can completely transform a dull, slow-growing plant into something lush and gorgeous. Point 5. The silent pest problem. Last, but absolutely not least, pests. Hanging plants are actually more vulnerable to certain pests than plants on the ground. Spider mites, in particular, love the warm, dry, elevated environment where most hanging plants live. And because the plant is above your eye level, you often don't notice the early signs. What to look for? Tiny webs near the stems or undersides of leaves. Leaves that look dusty or stippled with tiny dots. Or a general dullness to the foliage that doesn't respond to watering or fertilizing. Make it a habit. Once a week, get it eye level with your hanging plant. Flip a few leaves over and actually look at the underside. That's where pests hide first. If you spot trouble early, a simple spray of diluted neem oil solution or insecticidal soap every few days for 2 weeks will usually clear it up completely. Catch it late, and it becomes a much bigger fight. So let's quickly recap what we covered today. Your hanging plant might be dying because of uneven watering that leaves the roots thirsty despite the soil looking wet. It might be suffering from warm, dry air collecting near the ceiling. The light might be too harsh or too weak, despite looking fine to the naked eye. The roots might be cramped and starving for space and nutrients. And pests might already be making a home on the undersides of your leaves without you ever noticing. Here's the good news. None of these problems are permanent. Every single one of them is fixable, as long as you catch them in time. So go check on your hanging plant today. Not tomorrow, today. If this video helped you understand your plant a little better, go ahead and give it a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach more plant lovers just like you. And if you want more honest, practical plant care tips that actually work, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself and your plants.